my joy to introduce Richard Long. Richard here at One Way is just, I don't know how to describe him. He's the guy where he's like the catch-all basin. If there's a ministry taking place in the city or somebody that you don't know, he knows them, he's involved in it. Richard, you're a joy and a blessing to work with. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. I hope everybody out there is not too full of information yet. You've heard so much already. If you've got a checklist, you've checked off a lot of things already. We're grateful that you're with us tonight. Lots of friends that are there on the screen with us. And as I begin, I just want to quote something from Psalm 118, verse 23. It's a messianic psalm, which actually Jesus repeats during his ministry. And the phrase is, "The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes." And I think that's what we all feel like. We're on this incredible adventure that the Lord is up to and has allowed us to come along for the adventure and the ride. So as you've been seeing, we have kind of some new scripts that help us define what we're doing. And so Love Ottawa has a new script, not very much different from what we've always been about, but ours, as you can see on the screen, says, Love Ottawa is about impacting our entire city with God's love. It would be impossible without ministry and community leaders working hand in hand. Love Ottawa provides support, training, and connection opportunities to bring together key leaders so that outreach teams are equipped and we can see lasting transformation in every sphere and neighborhood. So I'm not going to go through all the many teams we have. We have some amazing teams who've adjusted to the challenges of COVID in some pretty remarkable ways. Just this fall, we've had the Civic Prayer Breakfast team still pull off an amazing event at late October. We've got the Dig and Delve team that's moved to a monthly event, and they're coming out for their second one this Friday night. You can find all about that at diganddelve.ca. And the Friends for Dinner effort has morphed at Thanksgiving and now getting ready for Christmas to doing Zoom dinners with international students. So kudos to all the people who work on those teams and their creativity and the work they continue to try to do. I want to talk about just a couple of teams as I share. And the first one that we launched really this year, at the beginning of the year, is what we just call our city evangelism team. We don't have a fancy name for it yet. And so it's just been working hard on coming together to gel, to get vision. There's some pretty amazing people. It's really populated entirely by evangelists, and they keep each other going. They kind of riff off each other, they synergize. And so you'll be hearing more about this as things come together. But the first thing they did was put up the Capital Hope website, which continues to develop and will be a tool even this Christmas to help people in the city find hope through online services and Christmas events that are going on. But it's going to become much more than that as time goes on. The same team, which is led now by Dan Byrne, has been involved in some training events in the city already this year. But as they've been praying together, mostly, seeking the Lord together, trying to get the Lord's heart for evangelism that would be collaborative, they're starting to develop plans for an event in 2023 that will be a large-scale citywide evangelism effort. So you'll have to wait to hear a bit more about that as that rolls out. One of the benefits of this team forming is that it's been able to rely on the coaching of the Palau organization out of Portland, Oregon. And you might remember we had Kevin Palau with us for Capitalize, and he's offered to his team to work with ours. And in many senses, the city of Portland is very much like Ottawa, and similar size, similar very secular kind of worldview. And so it's been a blessing to learn from another city, and they've been asking to learn from us as well. So that's just one of those neat teams that's been developing this year. 1 year ago, you and I, sitting in December 3rd, had no idea what was ahead of us. Mark usually gets each of us to come up with our goals and strategies. He's with his whip that he uses to get us into shape. And so, we come up with these great plans for the next year. And of course, like all your plans, they did not come about the way we expected. I would actually say that the unity in our city has advanced more rapidly during the pandemic than any other time I've seen. And so I want to tell you a bit about some of that. One, we've had a Respond Ottawa team that collaboratively gets the churches working together around responding to crises, whether it's tornadoes or flooding, those kind of things in the past. Amazing team, but they recognize the need to spin off a special team, a task force around COVID-19. So that team has done amazing work. And I can't go into all the details. I think many of you get the reports from them. But one of the things that's been wonderful about that is the new connections, not only with new churches that are participating with that team, because they ask for point people from each church, but new relationships with the city and with agencies in the city that we had been longing to have. But because we're serving the city, we now have natural opportunities to sit with these people. And that it might mean that the city's human needs task force, which has begun to partner with us and ask for our partnership on some of the things we're doing. Right early on, it was Ottawa Inner City Health. If you've read your newspaper today, they were back in the news today again saying that if the 1,000 people who live on the streets that are street engaged in our city had been catching COVID as they were worried they might, every one of our hospitals would have been overrun and we would have been in deep trouble. In fact, there has been an amazing ministry to homeless people in our city during COVID, and we're grateful for being able to partner with them. More recently, working closely with the Alliance to End Homelessness, and we're going to be doing a major clothing and food drive during January, February, and March. You'll be hearing more about that. And a very important discussion that came along around mental health, which is really the second pandemic that is hitting. Every pastor knows this. Every person that's working with other people knows that mental health challenges have skyrocketed. And so that Respond Ottawa team recognized that was something we needed to help pastors and churches with as well. We had an amazing time as they put together an event to help resource people around those issues. So that's the Respond Ottawa team, and they've kind of pushed us into new places. But another thing we could never have expected, which was certainly a crisis in our city and in every city in North America, was the response to the George Floyd killing at the end of May. And of course, God knew this was coming. And we heard from our Black leaders when we asked them how they were feeling about this, what this was raising in terms of their own consciousness and trauma. And we're deeply touched when we met with them on our weekly Zoom calls for pastors. So we realized we needed to just give them a chance to share that more widely. And we initiated what we called a crucial conversation with Black leaders. I think there were 110 people from pastors across the city that came in on that first crucial conversation. Well, we realized we were only touching the surface with that initial conversation. And so we've had a second and a third and even a fourth conversation. And it's become a conversation where white pastors and other ethnicities are really starting to talk to one another pretty seriously about the challenges that are ahead. And so that is as recent as last Sunday night. We actually had a first in-person opportunity to have these conversations, something called Operation Reconciliation. It's on your screen. I think now you can see that we had a gathering, and it was an amazing time where Black and Caucasian and other leaders came together personally to share, to for the white pastors to express their regret, to talk about what the future could look like. And the exceptional thing about this, which we've been praying for a long time, and this is kind of my last praise report for you, is we've been longing for a deeper relationship with our Francophone leaders in the city, both in Ottawa, but also across the river in Gatineau. And God began to knit our hearts together in the summer as we began to share about that racism is an issue on both sides of the river and in both cultures. And so it was a fully bilingual event Sunday night. It was the beginnings of what I think is going to be a re-engagement of Francophone and Anglophone leaders in our region for good. And our desire is to see Ottawa become a racism-free zone. That sounds like a big idea. It's a very big idea. But together, the church working together, we can see amazing things happen as God blesses. In fact, the Word of God says God commands a blessing where there's unity, where brothers and sisters dwell together in unity. So we do have some exciting plans for 2021. The key kind of maybe a mini capitalize initially in the early part of 2021. You'll hear more about that as time goes on.